On the spiritual path, the biggest challenge that stops you from completing your spiritual journey isn't the challenges along the way. It isn't having to confront possible suffering and darkness. And it isn't the world that holds you back. The biggest challenge that stops you from going all the way is actually when you start to succeed, when your life gets more peaceful, more harmonious, and more successful. And today, I'm going to show you how to avoid getting caught in that trap and completing your journey. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, the fast and easy path to enlightenment. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Because here, we don't just throw a bunch of positive words at you, a bunch of empty platitudes. We show you, step by step, how to free yourself from your mind and your ego, starting now. Now, on my last video, I talked about the power of desire and using that energy and momentum of desire to achieve your goals. And see, here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to make an important point about desire, is because for those of us who have been on a spiritual journey, desire is something that is basically a dirty word, because we've heard all these different masters tell us to drop our desire, to drop our attachments to the world. And so we listen to that, but our approach most of the time is to make desire wrong. And thereby we end up suppressing the desire. And when we suppress the desire, we're not getting rid of it, we're just pushing it down and actually holding on to it. And that's why we see a lot of people that talk about, I don't want anything, I have no desire, but they really don't have any power. They can't demonstrate anything because they're really pushing themselves down into a more apathetic state without even realizing it. So it is a very important topic, and if you haven't watched that last video, I'll put a link to it right here. Go check that out. But now, I want to take this topic of desire and apply it to our biggest goal, our goal for total freedom. Because if you're watching this video, chances are that's what you really want. You're on a spiritual path looking to achieve the same thing that you've witnessed in some of these great ones that come around every once in a while. You want to do it too. Now, I am no stranger to the spiritual community. I've grown up in spiritual communities my whole life. My parents were deeply involved in spiritual practices. I've lived in some of the most spiritual cities in the States. And especially in the last 15 years, I have been practicing, teaching this work, and have met lots and lots of people, made lots of friends who are on the path. And one thing I've seen happen again and again that have tripped people up, stopped them from moving forward on the path and achieving their goal. Because here's something that I've heard. I mean, ever since day one, when we talk about these masters like Lester Levinson, I've always heard the question come up, well, who else has done it? Who else has followed Lester's path or any of these other paths and have achieved the same thing? Not much, not many. But the thing is just because not many people do it doesn't mean that you can't do it. And what is it that trips so many people up where they get started on the path but they don't complete it? Now, it's not the difficulties, the challenges of going down the path where you have to face your inner demons, you have to confront some uncomfortable feelings, you have to face that ego, face the limitations. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is when you've conquered some of these demons and you've carved out a space of peace. You've achieved a certain level of enlightenment. And this is what I've seen so many of my friends do, is get to a nice, peaceful, happy state where life is working better, more smoothly. No emergencies to take care of. Not very many. They come around once in a while. But overall, life is good. And in this place, they stop growing because they create a nice, safe little bubble of peace around them. And they enter into this condition we often call floating above our garbage, where we're just in this nice, peaceful place. And it's like, hey, don't rock the boat. Don't bring those negative vibes around me. And they don't reach out. They don't go further. And at the same time, they don't really go through a self-assessment and be honest with themselves. Because if they were, they would see that they're still loaded with limitations. They still have problems. Their ego still comes up and bites them in the butt. And they still have desire, lots of desire, but they're not willing to acknowledge it. And I'm not afraid of pointing my finger at some of my friends, because after all, I'm pretty sure that they're not watching the video here. They already know everything, so they're not around. And that's also another trap that we get into, is that we feel like we've read this book, we've listened to this master, we've followed this guru, and we've absorbed all of this information, which to our mind makes sense. But we get into the state of being a know-it-all spiritually. But knowing it is not the same as demonstrating it, living it. And that's where we really have to continually step out, push our boundaries, knock out those limitations so that we can prove to ourselves we have no limitation. We are omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, settling for no less than that. Now, having said that, I also have known many, many people that have reached this nice state. They've dropped a lot of stuff, and they are still interested in going on the path. They realize that more work has to be done, but it feels like there's not much to really sink our teeth into. Not so much is bothering me, and therefore I don't know really what to work on, how to keep moving forward to achieve that ultimate goal. And that's why I want to talk about this topic of desire again, and how we can use it for achieving the ultimate goal of total freedom and imperturbability. And this is where Lester's coming from. Now, talking about Lester, see, a lot of people have asked, well, how can I achieve what Lester did? I mean, Lester did it in 3 months. I've been working at this for 3 years, and I'm still not there. I'm nowhere close to where Lester's at. What enabled him to do it so quickly? And then we point our finger at his heart attack. Well, the doctors told him he had 3 weeks to live. He had a severe pressure motivation to do it. So he had special circumstances that I don't have. He was lucky to have that heart attack. That's what enabled him to go all the way. I can't do that. And that's a mistake. Because that's a fallacy in thinking. Here's why. Lester, sure, he had that motivation to get started, to find an answer because he wasn't ready to die yet. And that's when he stumbled upon this ability to let go that we practice here, and he used it. And he used it to cure his body. And when he had that out of the way, he could have stopped, but he didn't. He kept going. And he found that the same thing applied to his finances. The same negativity that he had been suppressing, holding down, was also ruining him financially. And he continued letting go, and he found that by letting go, he could easily attract wealth to himself. So he answered that problem. And he could have stopped there. Hey, life is great. I got all the money in the world. I can just manifest gold, literally. Life is easy. My body's great. He could have just stayed there, but he kept going. Why? Because of desire. You see, he made a decision. I want freedom more than anything else, because he recognized the goodness of what he was doing, how nice and happy and loving and powerful it was to let go of the negativity and that love and positivity that was already there, that just showed up, that was covered up by that negativity. It was so delicious. But he recognized that he just had a piece of it. And if a piece of the pie tastes this good, what does the whole pie taste like? So he fostered for himself a strong desire to go all the way. And he talked about this again and again and again, using desire for freedom to knock out the desires for the world. Because to him, the path is easy. The method is easy. Super easy. We just have to do it. The more we do it, the more results we get. But the difficulty is confronting our old habits, the habits that we put in. The habits I addressed in the last video when I talked about desire, the habits of wanting to be lazy, the habits of procrastinating, the habits of going for the quick fix, the easy gratification rather than the long-term goal. These are all habits of the ego. And what we need is a strong desire to knock out every single one of those habits. And again, we're talking about using desire against desire, fighting fire with fire. As Lester put it, the desire for freedom must be stronger than the desire to possess and control the world. And for those of us who get stuck in this positive bubble, this space of floating over the rest of negativity, of just saying, okay, this is nice, this is peaceful, don't rock the boat. See, we're trying to control what goes on around us. And we try to control others. Hey, don't come around me with that negativity. Stay back. Or we judge others. Oh, they're a bunch of idiots. They don't know anything. I don't want to associate with them. And if we just assess ourselves and recognize what's going on, hey, I still want to control. I still want to be happy, have a peaceful life. I still have a very, very strong desire. We got to knock that out. So this is where it all starts. With your decision, I must want freedom more than anything else. That's it. More than anything else. Even if that means being totally out of control. Even if that means being engulfed with negativity all around me, being miserable. Even if I have to live out eternity in that condition, so be it. I want to be imperturbable. I want freedom. Basically freedom from desire more than anything else. Now the big question is, how do you do that? How do you do that and really mean it? Well, unfortunately, I don't have a quick answer for that. Nobody does. Because nobody can do that for you. That's something that you must decide for yourself. That you must determine that is true for you. Because even though we all practice very common methods, like this, what we do here, to release our negativity, or if we practice meditation or yoga, whatever, even though our practices may be uncommon, our path is a very personal thing. This is something that you must discover for yourself. But here's the thing. You start by making the decision. And when we talk about that it is simple and it's easy, it really is as easy as this. If you can answer that question, determine for yourself, how do I want freedom or anything else? How do I make that decision? And then once it clicks on you, oh, okay, that is my decision. I'm making it. Once you make that decision, everything else is taken care of. The how-to just falls into place. Whatever it is that you need to let go of, whatever programs you have inside that you need to look at and go, that's what I've been suppressing. That's what's been running subconsciously. It becomes known. You see it, and you can let it go. So in other words, there's nothing to figure out beyond making that decision. All you have to do is just focus on making that decision. I want freedom more than anything else. That's it. The rest will just fall right into place. So what we can do here is do some releasing so we can get clear on that, and you can find that in yourself to make that decision. All right, so let's do that. So right now, just relax, get nice and quiet. Just take a deep breath. Focusing on your breath is a good way to quiet your mind. Now let's do a little self-assessment and see if you're trying to figure out how to go all the way, what you need to do, how long it'll take. How will you know if you're even there? All right, have you been trying to figure it out? And have you found an answer yet? And if you want to get right to the point, ask your mind right now if it knows how to go all the way. It doesn't know, does it? And right there, that's showing you that you're looking in the wrong place. You're literally looking in an empty file cabinet for an answer that isn't there. But you keep looking, right? You keep going back to that empty file cabinet again and again and again. How do I do this? What's the answer? When is it going to happen? What do I need to do? And you've been probably trying to figure it out for a long, long time. So the fact that your mind doesn't have an answer, that's your red flag right there. You don't need to go any further. If your mind doesn't have the answer, it's silly to keep asking it again and again and again. So now let's just set that whole thing aside. Set aside wanting to know, wanting to figure it out, wanting to find that answer. We're just going to set that aside. Now, take a look to see if you've been disapproving of yourself. And it could be literally beating yourself up, or it could be another little subtle forms like being impatient, being confused or doubting yourself, or just running around trying to figure it out. See, that's telling yourself that you're not capable. You don't have an answer. You can't do it yourself. So you need someone else to tell you how to do it. So see if you've been beating yourself up in any of these ways. And how does that help you find an answer? Beating yourself up. That's ridiculous, isn't it? And who's doing it? Who's disapproving of yourself? You are, aren't you? So if you're doing it and it's not helping you, now you just need to come down to a simple decision right now. I'm going to be positive and love myself, or I'm going to be negative and beat myself up. What do you decide? Well, the obvious choice is to love yourself, right? So make that decision right now. I'm choosing love. Now, based on this decision, in order to move towards love, you got to let go of beating yourself up first. And you see you've been doing it. So now, since you're doing it, could you let go of disapproving of yourself? Yes or no? It's a decision. Yes or no? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And even more. And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And even more. And could you let go of disapproving of yourself even more? And even more. And how does that feel? Doesn't it feel lighter? And that is you, right now, in this moment, dropping the ego. That lighter feeling is your beingness, your authentic self now showing up. And this is what you got to focus on. If you want to reach the end of your path, achieve the ultimate goal, it's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's only something that you're going to achieve in the now. Just like you're starting to experience now. Now let's expand this even more and be more loving. Now, since positive doesn't hurt anything, and since love is the essence that we're going for, let's practice it. Now, could you give yourself some love and approval? Just because you can. It's your decision, yes or no. And could you give yourself some more love and approval? And could you give yourself some more love and approval? And some more. And even more. And even more. And could you love yourself even more? And more. And even more. And even more. And how do you feel now? Doesn't that feel nice? So we're moving up. We're moving into higher consciousness in the now. And in this higher consciousness, in this lighter space, we can make a more effective decision. You see, those of us on the path, when we get nice and light, we're in a great place to move farther. If we challenge ourselves, if we push ourselves. Because in this place right now, the decisions that we make are more effective. Because our mind is quieter and our intention is clearer now. So we can hold in mind exactly what we want and make more positive decisions. So right now, just decide to let go of wanting to figure out what to do about it. Because the real answer here is you got to get out of your head. Check yourself. Are you still wanting to figure it out? Are you still feeling confused? Don't know what to do. Don't know what the next step is. Or which step is the right step. If you're sitting there mulling that over, you're not moving. You're not taking any steps. And that's where we get stuck. So could you let go of wanting to know? Seriously, could you let go of wanting to figure it out? And instead, trust beingness. Trust beingness to show you what the next step is and to take you all the way. Could you? And could you trust beingness some more? Could you surrender your path, the path that you're on, over to beingness? Let beingness guide you, help you. And trust that beingness will be there for you, will show you. And could you surrender to beingness even more? And could you surrender to beingness even more? How does that feel? Does it feel more like you're on the path now? And there's a light moving forward. A light at the end of the tunnel. That it's possible now. See if it's more possible now than it was a moment ago before we started this little releasing exercise. Do you feel clear? Now, since your decisions in this clear space are more effective, can you just decide now? I want freedom. I want imperturbability. I want desirelessness more than anything else. More than anything I want in the world. Just decide that. It doesn't mean that you have to fulfill that decision right now, because when you make that decision, you'll probably notice right away your ego might come up to challenge you. No, I want my relationships. I want all of my nice little comforts and toys. Or I'm afraid to go there. So by making that decision, you're going to challenge the rest of the garbage to come up. So you're no longer floating above it. You allow yourself to swim in it and let it go. You see that? So it's up to you. Make that decision. Go all the way. Because here's the thing. You got a great tool. Whatever tool you're using, it's a great one. And there's so many great tools. Every single one of us can go all the way, be a master. But if we don't use these tools fully, we're wasting this opportunity. Don't waste yours. Keep releasing. Keep moving forward. Keep strengthening that decision. By the way, before we conclude, I'm going to head over to the US in October to do a weekend class in New York. So for any of those of you who are on the East Coast who want to really step into this, make this your primary project to go free. I'm doing a special 3-day class, 3 full days. I'm calling the Weekend of Awakening. And it's all about getting clear on what it takes to complete this journey and complete it fast. So I'll put a link to it here if you're around the neighborhood or if you want to travel to New York and participate. You check it out. I'd love to see you. And in the meantime, keep releasing. Keep letting go, because every step on this path is a permanent step to positivity. Just keep stepping forward. Don't let yourself get stuck in the mind and stuck in this positive trap. Keep pushing yourself. Keep challenging yourself until you break free. All right? Well, happy releasing, and I'll see you next time.